Hey YouTube, so I'm here today with Tango again. Now Tango's been working with me for a couple of days, just allowing him to pull into the leash as I walk back and forth, just like I showed you in the last video. So today I actually want to start working on his pop and release. Now a lot of times when a person who is inexperienced with walking their dog on the leash starts to try and get them to walk properly, bad habits are instilled. And what I mean by that is a lot of times when I see people working with their dogs for the first time, the leash is very, very tight. And they're so prone to keeping it tight because they're so used to their dog pulling on that leash. So I really want you to work hard at relaxing and giving your pop and release appropriately on this collar. And I'm going to show you just on a quick clip right here on how to do that. So this is the action that I'm talking about, guys. What you want to make sure you're doing is keeping a short leash, and it's a pop and release action. The wrong way to do this was to pull and release. Pull and release. That's incorrect. That's what we're doing when we're introducing the collar to the dog. Now we're trying to give quick pop and release. Tug, let go, tug, let go, tug, let go, pop, release. However you want to say it, it's a quick action. Sometimes you need to be a little bit more aggressive with your action as the dog becomes more experienced and you're around heavier distractions. But for now, it should be just a light action, and you should see your chain tightening up and loosening very quickly. Okay? Let's get to it. Okay, so as you can see, you really want to work on pop and release, and there's different types of pressures that you want to use depending on the dog's excitement level. For right now, Tango has been working in this spot for a couple days, so I really shouldn't need to use a lot of pressure, so it should be a fairly light correction that I'm making with him. So I'm going to start walking, and as I start doing that, you're going to see me, rather than allowing him to pull into the leash now, I'm going to start to pop on the leash and keep my body moving. So here we go. Let's go. So right out of the gate, you can see he's wanting to get ahead. So I'm going to pop and I'm going to move backwards. Now, anytime I start to do this with young dogs like this, they can be a little wild. Once I feel like they've calmed down and they're actually following me properly, that's when I will start to turn and walk normal. Now you're going to see a little bit of head shaking going on from the dog. That's normal. A little pop right there. A little pop. And this correction is just mostly back past my hips here. Okay, and I'm trying to make sure that if he starts to sneak ahead of my leg, that's when I'm trying to make the correction. I'm trying to make a really consistent area next to my body that is clear to the dog on where to stay. Now, why is that important? Because if he's walking next to my left leg, for instance, right now, and I can keep that consistent, he's going to start to learn real quickly that next to my leg is where the most comfortable and safest spot is to be. If I let him ahead of my leg by 6 inches, he's no longer going to be able to see my leg, hence making it hard for him to determine where the correct spot is. So I'm trying to be consistent because I know that I can use my leg as a cue for him visually. And you can see he's still obviously not totally focused on me. I've got the wind coming from my left, and you can see his nose leaning into the wind. He's smelling the ground over there to the left, the grass, because that's normal. A dog's nose is probably their number one distraction when it comes to walking. Again, this is why I don't take him on a walk. This is why I work on my standard in the most calm and distraction-free environment I can work on. Now, each time that you come out and try this with your dog, you should know that it might start off a little rusty, okay? And that's normal. I don't expect the dogs that I'm training to really come out and start walking properly with me right out of the gate until I've done this for a good week or two. Expect that they're going to want to make mistakes. Dogs naturally want to lead and get ahead. Like I mentioned in my last video, this is not a normal behavior for a dog. Having them on leash and keeping them on a short leash next to you is not something that they're born to do. They have to learn how to do this. So you can see these small little corrections here that I'm making. Popping and releasing. You'll hear me say that a lot. Pop, release. Pop, release. The release is all about keeping the leash loose. I don't want to have to keep a tight leash. It's going to make your job harder actually if you're pulling him around rather than making short corrections on this leash and this collar. Also notice my head position. I'm watching the dog. Another good reason why I don't start going on a walk with a dog until they really start walking well with me is because I'm trying to pay attention to what they're doing so I can be a good, consistent handler and keep him in this position. Because as soon as he starts to move from this spot, it's my job to try and get him back into this spot. You might also notice that I'm not telling him anything right now. I'm not telling him heel, okay? The reason why is because when I train, I try and make sure that I show the dogs the behavior that I want them to do through handling before I start pairing a command to that behavior. And again, in this case, he's doing what I would consider really well. Little hiccup right there. Expect these little hiccups from the dogs. Walking next to your side, backing back and forth on a sidewalk or in a driveway is not very entertaining. Okay, so expect that after a while they might get a little frustrated, a little bored. They might fight back a little bit, grabbing at the leash with their mouth. You start to notice that. One quick remedy to that is to find a moment when they're doing really well, slow down, come to a stop, and just give the exercise a break for a second. Okay, if you can do it that way, you're going to give them a break, you're going to give you a break. Stop for a moment, don't overexcite them and start playing with them or foofing them too much, because we're going to go back to doing this. If I get him too excited, I'm going to get his mind out of the moment, and it's going to be hard to get him back on track. So I'm really only going to do this for a couple of more minutes, and I'm going to call it good. I might use a human term like, let's go. But again, it's all about what I do, not about what I say at this stage of the game. So many people that try and train their dogs try to tell their dogs what to do as if they know what the word heel means. All right? He has no idea. If I were to start telling him heel, 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 he's not going to know what it means, and he's probably going to get really annoyed with the word and bothered by it rather than understand what it means. So again, good dog handling is how we teach our dogs behavior. And then we start to add words to those behaviors to tell them really what it is that they are doing. And this is perfect. This is really what I'm looking for. It's a dog that's walking on a loose leash, making some mistakes so I can correct him when he does, keeping a good close eye on him, keeping my momentum moving. Notice when I go to make this turn from him, I don't stop. I keep moving. I wait for this little moment where he lags, and I give him a little pop. And again, ultimately, I'm looking for a dog that's walking next to my side and not pulling on a leash, not being drug on a leash. Here's that little frustration. If I'm having to drag my dog around on a leash, the dog does not understand what's expected of them. Okay, so any dog that's out walking and is on a tight leash doesn't really understand how to respond to a leash. So if you really want your dog to work and walk on a looser leash, I think fortunately, some people might think unfortunately, have to teach them how to do it properly, and we have to do it often in order to really instill the proper habit that I'm looking for. Okay, this isn't just going to happen in a week and a half, and your dog's going to be walking perfectly with you. This is a constant refresher course every time you go out on a walk with your dog, and that's just the reality of it. Okay, you might see some of these clips on YouTube where they're giving you a 30-second blip of how to do this, and they're using a ton of food. Okay, I'm not against using food in this exercise. I'm not, as you can see. But the reality of it is, even my older dogs who are 6 or 7 years old, if I don't work on them walking by my side on a regular basis, they're not going to be as good at it as if I were to do it every day. So look, practice makes perfect. That's the same thing with the dogs. Okay, if you take time off from doing a certain behavior and you go back to it as a human, you're going to be rusty at it, and dogs are the same exact way. So hopefully this helps. This is the second stage of teaching your dog how to heel or walk on a loose leash. So go get your dog, go get your leash, go get your pinch collar, and practice. Like, subscribe, and make some comments.